So we have what seems to be an alarming medical story to share with you tonight. A contagious fungus appears to be spreading through the country. It has what appears to be a very high mortality rate. The fungus is called Candida auris. Cases have more than tripled in recent years. It seems like something out of fiction. Is it a threat to you, to all of us? Dr. Mark Siegel joins us tonight to assess that. Hey, Doctor.
Tucker, it's not a threat to us yet, because it mainly spreads among the immunocompromised in hospitals and nursing homes, and even healthy people can catch it there, but they're not going to get sick. However, it is a growing drug resistance to it, and if it gets invasive and you are immunocompromised, it's 30 to 60% fatal. So it's something to really worry about, and CDC's keeping a close eye on it. Now, what protects you? You're warm-blooded. If you're warm-blooded, you can fight off a fungus, and our immune systems fight off a fungus. But let's look at ants. There's actually something called zombie ant fungus, believe it or not, that turns ants, these insects, into zombies, and then they go around attacking each other. They're cold-blooded. There's a bat disease now, white nose syndrome in bats, that's killing them off by the droves. But what protects us? What protects us, again, is a species barrier. Even Candida auris isn't going to get us. And no, The Last of Us, the HBO Max story, which is about zombie ant fungus, it's not going to get us the way, I'm sorry to disappoint viewers, it won't get us the way it does in that movie, in that series. However, the National Science Board of Advisory is warning people that fungus is on their radar. You know what that means? That means if it gets into a lab and somebody's playing around with it in the lab, here we go again with this, it's possible that it will turn into something that could spread, have the mutations, and become a pandemic. That's what I'm most worried about, Tucker, is it being played with in a lab. Is it likely? No. Is it possible?
But hey, that's what these devils are doing. But first and foremost, I do want to give all praises, all honor, all glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders great millstone for teaching us his truth, peace, and blessings to the hopeful collective Israel and Shalom. Yahweh is the name of the Hanifal in Hebrew. Bahashim means the name, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the unbegotten Son. Background lesson, and ultimately going to go into these plagues and pestilence that Yahweh Bahashim Shai is raining upon this place. As you see, they referenced the movie, or it's a show now, The Last of Us, as well as a video game. But you can see the certain things those are throwing in front of your face. Going to, predictive programming, just going to show their future plans and things that they want to do. And as you see, it's even mentioned, in this news outlet right here. You even have people, in the comments starting to, see through, Esau Edom, and his lies. Which I made a lesson, I believe, like last year. I believe it was titled, Esau, caught red-handed, because he was, faking pretty much deaths of people. We had them, in body bags, and you saw one of the body bags move. I forgot exactly what it was dealing with, but I believe it was dealing with like a certain sickness, which I'm gonna be careful with my words, but there was that. Basically, so The Last of Us is a documentary, which they show you, I believe, in the first episode, which I still need to watch for myself, but I saw a few clips, as well as pretty much watched a walkthrough of the video game, so pretty much basically what it's about. But it's about pretty much the fungus. Couldn't say it correctly, but pretty much these devils are throwing in front of your face of things that they are doing, as they show you in many shows and TV shows and and cartoons. But as you see, just get a little bit of the comments. So didn't they just release a series, The Last of Us, based on a fungus? I mean, there you go. I believe it was referenced literally in the first show of them in the lab, planning on how they're going to release this and all that. As you saw right there, which is one of the main points I do want to get. As you just saw, let's go back to it real quick.
The Board of Advisory is warning people.
How they're working on it in a lab, and that's what these devils are doing. Constantly just ramping it up, making it worse than it is already.
That fungus is on their radar. You know what that means? That means if it gets into a lab and somebody's playing around with it in the lab, here we go again with this, it's possible that it will turn into something that could spread, have the mutations, and become a pandemic. That's what I'm...
Now, I believe I made a lesson like a year ago. You're going to where Esau Edom was experimenting and pretty much working on these mosquitoes and genetically modifying them to where pretty much using them as weapons. Because how a lot of these mosquitoes carry a lot of diseases and can be transferred into a lot of people. So you can see them, genetically modifying these things and using them as weapons. You already see the route these devils are, trying to go. Just how wicked these devils are, especially. But there's a quick article right here I do want to read, as well as get a quick YouTube video right here, just going to the situation at hand. Because once these are plagues and pestilence from Yahweh Shema Shai that he's unleashing and sending out upon this place, man. The Lord is not playing. Praise real quick.
The CDC is sounding the alarm about a deadly fungus called Candida auris and its rapid spread in the U.S. Researchers say the infections were initially clustered in New York and Chicago, but are now being reported in more than half the...
Which I believe maybe a week or two ago, people were, I believe, speaking on this. It wasn't as big as it is now, but continue on.
Country, including Texas. Healthy people typically don't get sick, but it can cause bloodstream infections for those with serious medical issues, like those with weakened immune systems and patients using breathing tubes or catheters. The fungus is resistant to most antifungal drugs and spreads on contaminated surfaces or physical contact with someone who's been infected.
As cases of a deadly fungal infection spread across the nation, hospitals here in San Diego say that's not the case locally. Still, they remain on high alert.
Our Sarah Legre live for us outside Rady Children's Hospital this evening with what you need to know about it. Sarah.
Andrew, Maria, today at Rady Children's Hospital, they wanted to get a message out, trying to quell some...
I see his comment right here. It says, thanks for promoting fear. And that's ultimately the work of Esau Edom. He promotes it as something, big and bad. And then, on the other hand, he downplays it. It's not as serious as people make it out to be. Then you're all confused. And then once it hits, they start locking this place down and implementing all these restrictions and mandates, But it's
fears regarding the spread of that deadly infection, otherwise known as Candida auris. Now, they say while it's not currently an issue here at home, it's only a matter of time before it makes its way to San Diego.
People in San Diego who are reasonably healthy, you don't have to worry about this.
A warning coupled with
which I believe in the video game The Last of Us, where you even have the spores that pretty much infected the people that turned them into those zombies, pretty much carried over in the wind and pretty much everywhere.
Assurance to the community amid high tension nationwide following the ever-growing spread of a deadly fungus, Candida auris, also known as C. auris.
It's a word of caution to all the hospitals in the United States that this particular Candida strain is spreading.
The big question, what is it and who does it target? According to Dr. John Bradley, medical director of infectious diseases with Rady's, it's a form of a yeast infection or a so-called superbug, characterized by its resistance to medications. Those infected commonly show these symptoms.
Either a red sore patch in your mouth or in your intestines, which you can't see, or if it invades fever, and that's the most common. If the Candida should settle in one of your organs, like the lung, then you'll start to cough and you could get a smoldering, increasingly serious pneumonia.
The fungus is mainly a concern with those who are immunocompromised patients, stemming from children to seniors. The concern at Rady's lies within their cancer patients.
If you're an immune-compromised host, once it enters, it can...
Well, to get the main point, I will leave these in the link below, but you know how these devils are. When you put certain links and articles in your description, they'll take a video down because you're referencing certain things. But I'm gonna give you a quick article here, just go a little bit more into it, a little more in depth onto Zero Hedge, which I saw one of the brothers use article right here, which gives a lot of good information. It says CDC warns of a dangerous fungal infection spreading through us, or it's like spreading through U.S. at alarming rate. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC's warning of an increasingly drug-resistant emerging fungus that the health agency says presents a serious global health threat. While you have these devils in the labs, working on these things and continuing to make ways to make these things worse, making it harder to get rid of and harder to combat and go against, to resist. And once again, they show you in these movies, these cartoons, and in these TV shows. For example, look at The Last of Us. A great example, literally dealing with fungus, and now you see, let's go back up here. One is a dangerous fungal infection spreading through U.S. at alarming rate. Now you see that happening, It's all, once again, ultimately through the work of Yahweh, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, but, using these devils in order to bring this about, Because this is not the first time that you have these devils working on things in the lab and unleashing these things into the public. Now, this is Candida RS is a rare fungal disease that is easily spread through contact with contaminated surfaces or from person to person and can cause severe illness and hospitalize patients and those with weakened immune systems, according to the health officials. Now, in some rare cases, the yeast can enter the bloodstream of patients and spread throughout the body, causing serious invasive candidiasis, diasis, if I said that correctly, infections which can affect the blood, heart, brain, eyes, bones, and other parts of the body, and can prove fatal. Once again, this is a judgment from Yahweh Bashmal Shai, and the Lord is continuing to ramp these things up. You're seeing new things happening left and right. Look what happened last year. All the the diseases are popping up left and right. Now you're seeing these things continuing to get worse. All these things are spreading across the U.S. at an alarming rate, as we read earlier in the article. Maybe seeing people turn to zombies, man. They're showing The Last of Us. I believe there was an old video that came out a while back, an article. We had this. I think that either the dude was drugged up, if not, he had something else. But dude was pretty much eating a person's face off, man. I believe it was like another similar situation. I can't exactly remember. But no one come back to me. If not, maybe y'all know also. But let's continue on. Just push out those few points. So the data from a limited number of patients or patents show that 30 to 60% of people diagnosed with the fungal disease have died. However, healthy people typically do not get sick from the fungal disease. The CDC says it's concerned about Candida auris for 3 reasons. It's often multi-drug resistant. It's hard to identify using standard laboratory methods, and it has rapidly caused outbreaks in healthcare settings. So, come on. But let's jump to a few scriptures that came to mind. Lord, was edifying lessons. Main point in the lesson go to these plagues and pestilence that Yahweh Shema Shai is unleashing upon this earth. Things are progressively getting worse. Things will not get better. As you see, the devil's always trying to downplay certain things to give you a false sense of hope that things will die down, that things will get better. When things will, matter of fact, get even worse. They're obviously going to push, to I won't say fear-mongering, but push the fear into people to seek for a solution. Maybe another juice. We have to see exactly what these devils try to implement and push out in order to get people to drink their concoction, I should say. But 2 Ezra 15:11-12. Because just going back to the movie or the show The Last of Us, a great example, man. And look what happened to the people that were pretty much infected with those spores, or that fungus. But it says, verse 11, but I'll bring them with a mighty hand, and they stretched their arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. And as you know, America is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. I believe going to the book of Revelation, I think the 3rd chapter, maybe another chapter, but going to spiritually Sodom and Egypt. So modern day Egypt. But I'll bring them with a mighty hand, and they stretched their arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. So that's a key point right there. And will destroy all the land thereof. And sending these plagues, these pestilence, these heavy storms that you are seeing, these earthquakes, all these judgments that Yahweh is bringing out upon this place, showing you we're getting closer and closer to the end. Because as scripture also mention and go into how we're hearing some times that have never been seen before throughout history. Verse 12, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation shall be smitten with the plague, and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. The Lord is smiting this place, man. And if you don't repent and take heed, this will what you will be caught up in the midst of, man, because you do not want to be on the receiving end of the judgment, these plagues and these pests that the Lord is finishing out upon this place, because the only way out is through our Lord Yahweh Shai, man. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is the escape route. The only exit, the solution. And those that want to put their faith and trust in Esau, Edom, thinking the devil's going to help you, thinking he's going to protect you, thinking the government is set in place in order to be, or for your benefit, You got another thing coming. I mean, look at all the things these devils are doing, man, and have done. Hey, keep believing that. 2 Ezra 16 and 38. Let's get the verse before that. Now, to behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, meaning not letting loose. I mean, it's constant. It's not letting up. And as when a woman with a child in the 9th month brings forth their son, with 2 or 3 hours of birth, great pains compass her womb. Now, who is that baby about to be delivered? The Israelites, man. That's when the kingdom will be, established and put in place, man. That great deliverance, man. And as you see those birth pains continue to increase and just, pick up as we get closer and closer to the end. Closer and closer to our Lord's return. As I was a woman, the child 9th month brings forth their son, with 2 or 3 hours of birth, where pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child comes forth, they slack not a moment. We're seeing so many things happening and taking place, man. It's no coincidence. 2 Ezra 16:39, it's all in the scriptures, man. Even so shall not the plagues be slack that come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and the sorrow shall come upon on every side. So showing there's no running nor escaping it, man. You're seeing a lot of other places being hit with heavy storms, earthquakes, judgments, plagues, pestilence, and it's especially going to hit America the worst. There's no running. There's no buying a plane ticket to flee America, because you're not escaping the judgments of the Lord, man. And that's going to in John 14:6, how our Lord Yahushua is the only way. Matthew 24:3-8 to go into these end time signs and the things that we would see before our Lord Yahushua makes his grand return. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us when shall these things be? What shall be signs like coming of the end of the world? As I mentioned, it's going to list out those signs. And Yahushua answered and said to them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I'm anointed, and shall deceive many. Many false prophets are being exposed as we speak, butchering of the breakdowns, the scriptures, leading our people astray, not preparing Jake, our people for what's to come, and ultimately a lot of these guys want to stay here. Ultimately are trying to keep you here. A lot of these guys have sold out, whether you see it or not. Verse 6, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. From my recent lessons, speaking of, these, build up the what's I'm looking for? Just, the tensions that continue to rise between the nations that you see over there in North Korea, 1.5 million, maybe even more now as we speak, but, are enlisting in order to go against America. So you're seeing a fight is meaning to happen. See that even that showed for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Main point right here, verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And these are the times that we are in and are in the midst of, man. As Scripture mentioned in the book of Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet set for an appointed time. We are in those appointed times, man, as written and appointed in the scriptures. Now, verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows, and even when you get the LT version, going into the beginning of these birth pains. So, Lord is only begun to ramp things up, As I mentioned, Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but then shall speak and not lie. Because the Lord is not a liar, as Scripture mentioned, how his word should not return to him void, meaning not return to him empty. So everything's going to be, coming to pass and play out exactly as the Lord sent it out to do. And it says, so it tarry, wait for it, because it will come. It will not tarry, meaning it will not delay. So these things will happen and will come to pass, and we are in those appointed times. Now it says, this vision is for a future time, dealing with these prophecies. It describes the end, and we are in the end, man. And we're getting closer and closer to that finish line than we have ever been before. 2 Ezra 15:49, just to go more into these plagues and pestilence. I'll send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine. I see a lot of people are losing their jobs, seeing a lot of layoffs, seeing an increase of inflation, the prices, And look what happened when the gas price rose up. People were flipping out, Now you're seeing with the food, you're also seeing shrinkflation, pretty much paying more for less. Once again, see in terms of layoffs. And a lot of people are also going to seek and fiend for a solution, which Devil's going to swoop in as a so-called hero, and it's going to, be that charagma, that the RFID hit. Very soon the paper dollar will be worthless. Now it's a famine, sword, and pestilence to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And that's what the Lord is unleashing upon this place, man. Now we got 2 more scriptures, and we shut down from there. There's 2 Corinthians 11, which I was just mentioning earlier. As you see, we're not ignorant of these devil's devices. Dealing with the movies, the cartoons, the TV shows. These devils using predictive programming, slapping the truth right in front of you. I mean, they did it in South Park, Family Guy, The Simpsons especially. And in The Last of Us, as well, there's you see all those recent train wrecks or the train derailments. There's even a movie going into that right there. Now you've seen a disease or a fungus, which you see in the show, the game, The Last of Us. I mean, it can't get any clearer than that, man. But ultimately, this is the work of Yahweh Bashim Shai, and using these devils to bring these things about. Read 2 Corinthians 11. Now it says, "Like Satan should avenge us, but we were not ignorant of his devices. We see what these devils doing, what his plans are. We are warning you to do the spirit prayer of Yahweh Bashim Shai, to repent, to seek the Lord, and to not trust this devil, man, the Esau Edom, this whole the date." Now it says Matthew 24 and 21 through 22. "For then shall be great tribulation, such as is not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be." So we're heading some times that we have never seen before, throughout history, man. So there's no telling what people, will be, if they get, probably, infected with this. Try to be careful with my words, as well as with all the juice and the sea hip joining hand in hand. Maybe see a ton of damn cyborgs, man, zombies. Verse 21, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as is not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be." Now verse 22, "And except the days should be shortened, and the flesh be saved, but for elect's sake those days shall be shortened." So Yahweh Shem Shai is hastening these days. There's an article I pretty much went into a while back where you have the earth spinning faster than normal. So the Lord is literally hastening these days, as well as you're seeing these prophecies, they're flying, man, flying off the pages. So pretty much the main point already. As you see Yahweh Shem Shai is unleashing these plagues, these pestilence, and if you don't repent and take heed, this is what's coming to you. So the Lord, was an edifying lesson. I do want to give all praises on glory to Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bashim Kakadash, double honor to the apostles, and those great millstones for teaching us this truth. Peace and blessings to a collective Israel, and Shalom.